In the 13th century BCE, the entire Near East was dominated by a geopolitical juggernaut, the Hittite Empire. The scale of their reach is best seen at the Battle of Kadesh in 1274 BC. This was the largest chariot battle ever recorded. Fielding between 5,000 and 6,000 chariots, the Hittite army met the forces of Pharaoh Ramesses II in a massive engagement that ended in a bloody, exhausting stalemate. Hittite authority was built on more than battlefield prowess. They operated with a level of diplomatic sophistication that matched their military strength. This is the Silver Treaty, an agreement forged with Egypt. It stands as the earliest known written international peace treaty in the human record. The principles of mutual non-aggression and extradition defined here were so sophisticated that a replica of this tablet hangs in the United Nations today. Yet within a few decades, by 1200 BC, this sprawling power structure began to disintegrate. Their grand capital, Hattusa, was burned and eventually abandoned. The inhabitants who remained in the region were reduced to a primitive existence, living in pit houses among the ruins of the former temples. The mystery is how a state capable of stalling Ramesses II and inventing international law could fail so completely within a single generation, especially when we know they were not defeated by the Egyptians or the migrating tribes known as the Sea Peoples. The collapse was rooted in a foundational geographic weakness. The capital was located in the semi-arid Anatolian highlands. The soil was poor, and the climate offered few opportunities for irrigation, leaving the Hittites entirely dependent on annual rainfall to grow enough grain to feed their people. To manage this risk, they engineered massive underground silos. The largest of these pits was designed to hold 260 tons of emergency grain, a stockpile intended to bridge the gap if a single harvest failed. Even at the height of their power, the empire's survival was balanced on the regularity of seasonal rain. Modern researchers have identified exactly when that rainfall stopped by analyzing isotopic data extracted from ancient wood samples. They studied the rings of long-lived juniper trees recovered from a nearby burial chamber, which provide a biological record of water availability in the region. This data visualization shows normal ring growth abruptly flatlining between 1198 and 1196 BC. The rings became incredibly narrow, indicating 3 consecutive years of severe drought. This 3-year window was the critical failure point. It meant the emergency grain silos ran completely dry, removing their only safety net. Without grain to collect, the central government saw its tax base evaporate instantly. The mighty army, once a disciplined force of thousands, began to dissolve as starving soldiers deserted their posts. This internal weakness triggered a fracture, leading the empire into a civil war between the capital in the north and the provinces in the south. In a final attempt to stabilize the famine, the Hittites looked to the sea, attempting to import massive grain shipments from Egypt. This map shows the maritime routes used for those grain shipments. The Sea Peoples delivered the final blow by raiding these coastal routes, physically severing the empire's last remaining supply line. The empire was not erased by a single enemy army. It fragmented as its domestic environment and its international trade routes suffered simultaneous, lethal shocks. The end of the empire was a process of fragmentation. While the central dominion at Hattusa fell forever, smaller pieces of the culture survived. Neo-Hittite states emerged in southern Anatolia and Syria, preserving their artistic styles and religious beliefs for several more centuries. The fall of the Hittites demonstrates that the stability of rain, grain, and maritime trade ultimately dictated the fate of empires. Their history remains a warning. No civilization is immune to the cascading failure of its environment and its supply chains.